Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us for today's event. My name is Scott Lowe. I'm with Actual Tech Media and have a few housekeeping details before we get started. As you can see, we have a jam-packed agenda today. In addition to our experts who will talk about the key ingredients for IT success, Chef Sunny Harrell is here to share some recipes for culinary success. Get ready for an entertaining and informative session. Now, let's turn things over to our event host to get started.
Hello, I'm Greg Abbott, Solution Architect at Tech Power IT Solutions. It's my pleasure to welcome you today to what I know will be an entertaining, highly informative, and worthwhile webisode focused on what's important to you. I want you to know that Tech Power, through our partnership with Hewlett-Packard Enterprise, we share a commitment to your success that is stronger than ever. We're here today as partners to share ideas, innovation, and initiatives. Propelled by the power of one, we want you to enjoy the greatest value possible from your IT investment. Our goal is to help you thrive in a world that is edge-centric, cloud-enabled, data-driven, and delivered as a service.
And thank you to Greg for setting the stage. Now let's kick things off with our first presentation. You know, in times like the present, everyone is looking for a recipe, a game plan for staying ahead of today's technology curve. Creative Financial Solutions can be the secret sauce that helps you adopt market-leading technology without breaking the budget. Lou Fortunato of HPE has some eye-opening information about financing and asset lifecycle options to address economic challenges. Let's hear what he has to say.
Thank you so much for having me today. My name is Lou Fortunato. I am the channel sales leader in the East for HPE Financial Services. I'm happy to talk to you today about our new offerings to help customers and partners weather the COVID-19 crisis. As many of you may have already heard, on April 8th, HPE Financial Services announced it has designated more than $2 billion in financing specifically to help customers with their financial challenges stemming from the COVID-19 crisis, including cash flow or liquidity issues. This article was featured in CRN and Forbes. We also introduced several initiatives, including a payment relief program to help customers acquire new technology and alleviate some of the financial strain as they navigate this uncertain future. Here's a summary of our offerings, and these offerings are centered around 4 key needs that customers might be facing. First, the ability to defer or reduce expenses on new equipment acquisitions. Second, generate cash from existing assets that put cash back into their businesses. Third, keep ahead of supply chain issues while matching monthly payments to equipment deployment. And finally, relieve capacity strain on legacy equipment by taking advantage of our certified pre-owned technology. So kind of in summary on these 4 options, we kind of looked at it in 4 different ways. How can we help customers defer or reduce expenses on existing equipment acquisitions that they were right at the point of acquiring? So a lot of customers are pretty far down the path on their digital transformation, and they need to continue on with that. So we have offerings that kind of help in that regard. The second piece was generating cash from existing assets. How can we help customers that may own IT assets, but they need cash back in their business? The third option was around helping customers with supply chain concerns. How can they acquire equipment today, but they don't have to start paying for it until they start using it? And then finally, let's not forget about customers that might be on legacy platforms that just need help, and maybe that help comes from certified pre-owned products that we can help bridge the gap and help them continue along as they're kind of thinking about their digital transformation. So let me talk a little bit about each of those options in a little bit more detail. The easiest, the simplest, and the most straightforward option is simply a buy now, pay later option. This allows customers to acquire equipment today. They don't have to make any payments for 90 days. So if they had a 36-month lease as an example, the first 3 payments would be at 0, followed by 36 even or level monthly lease payments. This is very simple deferral, very common in the industry. We see this a lot maybe at the end of a fiscal year where companies might need to acquire equipment in the fourth quarter, but they don't have a budget until the new fiscal year. We've basically just taken this product and said, hey, let's use this product today, allow customers to continue to acquire the equipment they need to run their businesses, but we're going to defer payments out 90 days to help them through this period of time where cash and capital might be a bit constrained. The next offer is what we call our 2020 Payment Relief Program. And quite honestly, this program is I think the most beneficial, and it's offering the most help to customers today. Essentially what this offering does, it allows customers that are acquiring equipment to defer 90% of the cost of that equipment until 2021. So as an example, a customer that's acquiring $100,000 worth of equipment, we will allow them to pay a very, very low payment for the first 8 months, or 1% of the total equipment value. In this example, this is a 36-month lease example on $100,000. So the first 8 months would be 1% of the total cost, or $1,000. So the customer in this example would pay $1,000 for 8 months, and then the remaining 28 months they would pay their level or even lease payment. And in this example, $8,000 is only or 8% on the first 8 months is $8,000. So in this example, they're deferring $92,000 on $100,000 equipment acquisition today. So this is pretty powerful. Customer acquires the equipment today, starts using it immediately, but only have to pay 8% of the total value over the first 8 months. So this is a great offer. The terms for this offer, this example is 36 months, but a customer could do a 48 or 60-month term as well. We're seeing the most traction on this offer, lots of requests for it, and again, a great offer for those customers that are pretty far down their equipment journey, their acquisition. It's ready to go. Now they're concerned about cash flow and capital constraints, and this allows them to acquire the equipment they need. Very unique offering. HPFS came out with this offering first. It's a unique offering, and we're getting a lot of customers that are asking about this. So those first two offers were just around deferring or delaying expense for customers that are getting new equipment. The next offering is a different way to help customers through this crisis, but this is called accelerated migration. Over the last 2 years, HPFS has essentially funded or put $642 million back into customers' budgets. And what this offering is those customers that already own IT assets, but now are looking for ways to take those assets to generate cash from those assets. We'll essentially buy back the assets if they made a recent cash purchase, and give them that money back into the business so they could use that for inventory, payroll, advertising, or whatever business needs they have. And we'll just convert that equipment onto a new lease. Very, very simple, easy to do. The second option is what we call a tech buyback, and this is really not for recently purchased or owned assets. This is for equipment that might be sitting in older equipment sitting in storage rooms, taking up space. We'll look to make an assessment and put a value on that equipment and basically give the customer money back into their pockets and let them use that money for other business needs during this crisis, or basically, quite frankly, take that cash and help them put that towards a new equipment acquisition. So this is accelerated migration. This is the second way we're helping customers through this crisis, by helping put cash back into their businesses. The third option that we're helping customers is what we call extended deployment. And what this is it allows customers to acquire equipment today, but start paying for it as they deploy it. So there's a lot of customers today that might start to be fearful of supply chain constraints or supply chain issues. This allows them to acquire the equipment today and then pay for it as they deploy it. A couple things: the equipment has to be deployed over 12 months, and they have to deploy at least 30% in the first quarter. But this is a great way to give a customer greater agility and avoid long-term internal procurement cycles, because they're procuring the equipment all at once, so they're doing it one time, and then they're deploying it over a 12-month period. So that whole kind of procurement cycle is just done once. And then the customer basically then determines, how they're going to deploy it. They give us their deployment schedule for the next 12 months. It avoids disruption, and it also helps control costs because they're not spending all their equipment up front. Think about a customer that might pay cash. They pay cash all up front for equipment that they might not start using for 6 months. This allows them to get all the equipment today, but only pay for it as they deploy it. And it basically improves productivity because they have immediate access to the equipment. So if they need to do any type of testing or configuring, they have it. And when it's ready to be deployed, they've already had the equipment, on their premises or in a data center, and it's ready to go. So great opportunity for customers that are looking to make sure that they could acquire the equipment today, but they want to start paying for it when they deploy it. So this is a really great offering as well. And the fourth and final offer, that I had mentioned earlier is really our certified pre-owned technology. HPFS has a technology renewal center in Andover, Massachusetts, and there's a lot of customers right now that might be on legacy platforms or thinking about going through a digital transformation. Perhaps they started that journey, but in the middle of the crisis, they might need some help with their legacy platforms. So if customers have the need for pre-owned or used equipment, there's a lot of different ways to get used equipment on the internet. But when they buy through HPFS's Technology Renewal Center, that they know that the equipment is tested and authenticated. It has the latest firmware updates. It's got warranty. It's got support. It's got the new product license, and it's ready to go. Fully tested. And they have the comfort of knowing that equipment is ready to go. We have a full inventory of legacy equipment, parts, custom configurations available on our certified pre-owned. So this is just really another way to help customers through the crisis. So again, the kind of start to wrap up, we have 4 offerings that are all driven around helping customers. So whether it's deferring or delaying expenses or deferring expenses for new equipment acquisitions, we have solutions for that. Whether the solutions needed are around generating cash from existing IT assets that they already own, we have solutions for that. Whether it's concerns around supply chain or deployment schedules, we have solutions for that. And it's to help customers as well with certified pre-owned on some legacy systems. I also just wanted to note that these offerings are all unique to help customers during this crisis, but all of our normal financial products are also available during this time. And finally, I wanted to thank you for your time. As you could see from our offerings, HPFS is quite unique in that we provide both financial structures and asset management expertise. We're not just about financing new equipment. We can help customers with their overall IT asset economics. Whether it is providing financial structures to help customers with new equipment on their digital transformation needs, yes, we have solutions for that. But we also provide full asset management expertise to help customers extract additional business value from their entire estate. As customers try to navigate this current business reality, whatever the new norm will be, they're looking for creative ways to do more with less. These programs that I've talked about will help reduce cash outlays, generate cash from existing assets, and align payments to deployment schedules. HPFS has decades of experience serving our customers. We're happy to be able to help our customers and our partners out during these unique times. So thank you for your time and attention. HPFS is here to help. Thank you. Stay safe and healthy. Thanks again.
We're pleased to introduce TikTok star chef Sunny Harrell, who's going to teach you how to cut, dice, chop, and julienne vegetables.
Welcome. This is Quarantine Cooking with your host, Sunny Harrell. That's me. My goal with this series is to get your food intelligence from here all the way up there. And we're going to start by finding a very intelligent, secure, safe way to cut up vegetables, because we want to preserve these. Now, let's go! Now, before we chop anything, I want to show you how I keep my fingers safe. By the way, I never cut myself. You basically want to make your hand into a claw shape. And now when I'm cutting anything, this one knuckle keeps me safe. Because as I move up and down and slice, the knife is gliding along this knuckle. As long as my finger doesn't come out like this, I'll be fine. You could do that off your ring finger, off your middle finger, you could do it off both. Let me show you the most intelligent way to cut up an onion. Most people will tell you to take off the root end and the bottom end first. What I recommend, taking the whole onion straight in half. Now just trim the bottom ever so slightly, because unless you're gonna julienne the onion, you wanna leave the root intact. This root area has the highest concentration of enzymes that make you cry, so you cut it last, you cry last. Better than crying first. Now just peel. Now we'll do a few different sized dice. Start with a bigger dice, remember the knuckle. And we wanna cut as far back to the root without cutting through it. Now once through the middle, remember finger security, keep them out of the way. All the way back to the root. Now we'll cut about 4 or 5 times this way. And that's a nice bigger dice. You could use that for lots of applications. Now let's do a small dice. So this time, we're gonna go very thin. Now again, turn sideways. Once in the bottom third. Once in the top third. And now we're gonna slice very thin this way. Which leaves you with a very beautiful, very small dice, perfect for a risotto. Now to julienne an onion, same step as the first time, and we're just gonna make a V on the root end, and we just start slicing in. Now when we get a little more than halfway, for safety, what we do is flip that onion on the side we were cutting, and continue to cut. That's a beautiful julienne. Let me show you something very important about slicing broccoli. So you want to cut it up pretty high, right? That will break down into florets, but I'm more concerned about this, because most people throw this stalk away, and this is my favorite part of the broccoli. So I'll just trim the bottom to make it stable, and now holding it upright, we're gonna peel it with a knife. You could also do this with a peeler, no problem. And now we're left with this, which we could just cut to nice little pieces and cook with our broccoli, or something else we could do. Slice very thin one way like this. Stack them up and slice very thin this way. Now that is a beautiful way to prepare raw broccoli. I would add that to any kind of coleslaw or salad. Now finally, cauliflower, which we're gonna cut into steaks and use for the vegetarian option of this series. So I like to just sneak my knife in. Now as we're making this into steaks, we're gonna take the whole thing and literally just quarter it. Quarter's done. Now we just want to trim a little more. But remember, this is holding it all together, so if you cut through that too much, you have florets, which we don't want for this preparation. That's it. Steak's done, ready for cooking. Okay, so we're building, and I hope your food intelligence is already gone up. Thank you for joining me, my friends. I will see you on the next one, where we are going to be creating the most amazing homemade spice mixes. I'll see you there. And I'm out.
Thank you, Chef Sunny, for teaching us how to chop things up without chopping off our fingers. Great knife skills are essential if you want to move quickly, stay in control, and be efficient with your meal prep. Your IT needs need the same kind of dexterity. Let's hear from HPE's Eric Gates on why organizations are opting for HPE GreenLake to achieve the agility that organizations need today.
Well, thank you for your time today. I appreciate you joining us for this session on HPE GreenLake. My name is Eric Gates. I'm the U.S. Channel Sales Director for HPE GreenLake and Pointnext Services. And we're going to talk a little bit about the shift to everything as a service and how that's helping customers like yourself accelerate innovation. Right? There's digital transformation that's happening all around us, and enterprises seek the need for speed and agility to help keep pace, whether that's around creating new products or services or customer experiences. We're seeing that a cloud-first technology or everything as a service is really starting to take hold, right? Pay-per-use models, simplified IT operations have really driven this shift. A matter of fact, according to a recent Deloitte report, an overwhelming 61% of enterprises such as yourselves report that they're mostly achieving accelerated innovation with an as-a-service type of model. So the value of the cloud experience is known. Everything as a service and pay-per-use models are understood, but quite honestly, cloud transformation is far from complete. And we're going to take a look about what's really kind of holding that back, right? The easy application migrations from legacy environments to public cloud, well, they've already happened, or they soon will. And then you kind of take a look at, well, what's happening new? That most of that is happening in a predominantly cloud-native environment. So that's one estate. However, there's 2/3 of apps that still remain on-prem due to some type of data restriction, whether that's architectural gravity, whether it's cost, latency, sovereignty, security, compliance issues. There are apps that are basically trapped on-prem in legacy infrastructure, and as a result, many enterprises are then caught in the middle of an old and new struggle with a complex dual IT operating environment, and that really stalls IT transformation. So the real key and the question here that we'll go ahead and explore is, what if you could have the cloud experience for all your data in apps, regardless of where that environment may lie, right? So imagine the cloud experience everywhere. And here at HPE, that's what we see, a world where apps and data live everywhere, where everything is connected. Apps and data will run on-prem and in the cloud or in the edge. This is the hybrid reality that we've been touting for a long period of time. We believe the cloud is an experience. It's an operating model. It's not a destination. Further, the cloud experience provides speed, agility, efficiency, and should be accessible to apps and data everywhere. And that's what we try to create with HPE's GreenLake, which I'm going to talk about here in a little while. It's that ability to deliver the cloud experience everywhere. So we're going to take a little look at what that means and where that will actually help benefit you. So we cover you whether your IT is on the edge, in a data center, or in a colo, or in the public cloud, or of course in all of these locations, which is typically what we see. The HPE GreenLake experience delivers cloud for all of your apps and data. It's basically on-prem, pay-per-use. It scales up and down as needed, takes advantage of variable costing and all cloud economics. So we're going to discuss what that really means. HPE GreenLake is our leading IT as a service offering that, again, brings the cloud experience everywhere to you. It delivers services and infrastructure for workloads on-prem, fully managed and in a pay-per-use model. This is a faster and more scalable IT with simplified operations, something that other providers attempt to do, but not at our scale and depth. And I'll talk later about how long we've done this, what we've done, how we've developed it, and how we continue to get better. This really unifies and simplifies operations, again, across the entire hybrid estate. And through some really cool tools, including GreenLake Central and our Consumption Analytics portal, we drive insights and control for operational excellence. This is beyond basic management and operations. This is insights and tools needed for a well-governed cloud. And we're going to show you the value of this as we move forward. First of all, we're going to stop and we're going to take a look at a few examples of key customers that have around the world found some sort of value with our cloud experience everywhere. First and foremost, Porsche. So Porsche is accelerating application development, decreasing data center complexity, reducing data center footprints around the globe. This has really helped them a lot as we help them establish a fully managed cloud environment. A key result that they saw was the ability to plan capacity ahead of use and avoid over provisioning. I'll talk about over provisioning and what that does to your IT budget, how that complicates and creates headaches for many customers just like you. But in this manner, we've helped through capacity planning reduce that. Nokia is another key customer that you may recognize, and they're leveraging the HPE GreenLake to operate a virtual lab and, again, a fully managed hybrid environment. Zenuity is a Swedish software company that is partnering with HPE to provide critical artificial intelligence and high-performance computing infrastructure. Zenuity is using their GreenLake environment to develop the next generation of autonomous driving vehicles. Really cool, really fun stuff. Great to see large organizations taking advantage and accelerating value with HPE GreenLake. Matter of fact, we have done a lot of research working with both Forrester and other analysts to really try to document what are some of the key advantages with HPE GreenLake. And first and foremost, you'll see CapEx savings, right? And that's primarily due to the over-provisioning that I just talked about a second ago, because it's hard to predict how infrastructure will be needed in the future. And to avoid running out of capacity and impacting core business applications and operations, IT typically over-provisions. Why wouldn't you? Buy more than you need so that you don't run out, right? Sometimes it's up to as much as 40 or even 60% over-provisioning. We've got a lot of surveys that say, depending on whether it's compute or storage, customers are vastly over-provisioned. Moving to a consumption model, you can now eliminate that costly upfront capital expenditure, so you're not just taking the money out of your pocket and putting it down and now it's unavailable for you. You're only going to pay for the capacity as you need it. And by the way, when you over-provision and you've got all that capacity sitting there running in your environment, you're still paying for the two most expensive pieces of data center, and that would be the power and the people. So we want to try to eliminate that. The other thing we want to try to do is accelerate your time to these projects. And in this case, HPE can drive as much as a 65% shorter time to deploy projects. Why? Because we've got capacity on-prem in your environment running before you necessarily need it. Now we're going to optimize that. We're going to try to drive the highest level of utilization possible. So again, we eliminate or really try to reduce that impact of the power and people, but we want you to have that capacity ready so that it enables you to move faster to new opportunities. You don't have to deal with long procurement cycles. You can maintain that infrastructure and shorten the time to launch new products. And we're really going to help do this a lot with these tools that I mentioned earlier. Capacity, our consumption analytics portal, and GreenLake Central, which we're going to get to in a second. We want to also help you keep less time spent kind of keeping that lights on, right? So why many organizations kind of have that 80-20 rule of amount of resources dedicated to keeping lights on versus innovation, we want to reduce that as much as possible. So again, you can be focused on the higher value-added services. And then lastly, we really want to help the IT team productivity by reducing the support workload, right? With HPE GreenLake, customers are able to focus more on strategic roles by offloading data center management tasks such as infrastructure support and capacity planning, right? The tools and the analytics we provide help with capacity planning as well. And so this allows with fewer system outages, faster application performance, greater transparency of business demands, and a number of benefits associated with leveraging the latest HPE technology, which I want to get into as well. So we unify and simplify operations across the hybrid estate with managed services from HPE that are automated and backed globally with our expertise. HPE GreenLake is central. Our HPE GreenLake Central is one of the customer portal and operations consoles that allow you access to services available, to take action and to get information to govern it. We allow you to monitor and plan your capacity needs with HPE experts using the HPE Consumption Analytics portal to avoid under and costly over-provisioning of capacity, as I mentioned earlier. We offload monitoring and management of your hybrid cloud environment to HPE to fill gaps and to free up resources. We increase reliability and responsiveness with services using integrated tools for alerting and service management, issue resolution, security access, log analytics. We speed implementation with automation to easily onboard your hybrid IT environment. We ensure reliability of operations with infrastructure as code automation. We unify management across your hybrid environment with centralized dashboards and common tools, processes, and services. We monitor your critical KPIs, for example, performance, uptime, time to resolution, ticket status, etc. And lastly, we ensure your environment is always up to date with patching, configuration management, upgrades, and problem resolution. So now we're going to take a look at some experiences you'll enjoy as a customer of GreenLake. And really we're going to talk about how the GreenLake delivers this cloud experience through HPE GreenLake Central. So in purple over here on the left, you'll see that customers use the self-service portal and operations console to get information and insights they need to govern their clouds. You can take and initiate requests to get resources and analytics needed to support the business. And then on the right-hand side in green, you see where HPE works behind the scenes with management services and automation to do the work. In service request fulfillment, deployment of infrastructure, metering, billing, and capacity management on premise. We monitor, operate, and take action to keep the infrastructure at its peak, all while taking care of versioning of the infrastructure to ensure it's current and it's compliant. And that helps reduce security risks, absolutely. So here's a little bit more and some insight into what the Consumption Analytics portal, some of the screenshots may look like, as well as HPE GreenLake. And this is a unified portal, really, across the entire IT estate. And this enables you to run, manage, and optimize through a single pane of glass. It's comprised of widgets for easy access to top KPIs and apps that you use the most across your public, private, and hybrid clouds. And so if you just take a look at this, in the middle right there is the CIO, who now has point-and-click insights and control to easily gain deeper understanding of what's going on in the environment. You can see that the CFO receives a robust and intuitive consumption analytics, which enables better decisions about where to align IT spend, how to optimize costs, and when and where to plan for more capacity. DevOps has a role here, receiving fast provisioning of IT resources. And this is a similar experience across, again, all cloud environments, public and private. Legal has access to continuous compliance capabilities, as we actually monitor over 1,500 business and technical controls across the environment. And then IT Ops has all this in a data-driven way to really drive and understand capacity planning, something that most customers just tell us they don't do very well anymore. So overall, we find that we're leading the market and really driving some unique capabilities. And gets me into why. So why would you trust HPE with all this, right? We've actually got 16 patents granted and 30 more patents pending from the development of our HPE GreenLake Hybrid Cloud, including our Consumption Analytics Portal and GreenLake Central. We provide true pay-per-use on-premise solutions based on actual metering and usage. We provide active capacity planning. When combined with pay-per-use and metering, this drives cost savings and eliminates, again, that over-provisioning we discussed earlier. It's mature. We've got nearly a decade of leadership and IT experience in this sort of market. And breadth and depth of offering and partners and technologies that we can bring to bear is simply unmatched. We've got nearly 1,000 successful cloud migrations now, bolstered with the acquisitions of CTP, Cloud Technology Partners, and Red Pixie. So with all of this, what should you be doing next? Well, we want you to come and talk to us and take a better look at what we're doing, right? Let's evaluate your right mix. Let's accelerate your on-premise workloads into a consumption model. Let's simplify and optimize your cloud experience. And overall, as a result of all this cost savings, let's help you fund the transition. I appreciate your time. I look forward to talking with you more and helping you better learn how to accelerate through HPE GreenLake. Thank you.
As you heard, HPE GreenLake is a very compelling tool for simplifying and optimizing your cloud experience. To help you assess your needs, TechPower offers a no-charge cloud physics assessment that will help you understand how your existing equipment is performing, where there's opportunity for improvement, and how you can take advantage of the predictive analytics of HPE InfoSight. Now, let's check in with Chef Sunny Harrell. If you ever wanted to know how to create your own spice concoction, just keep watching.
Welcome back. When you create an IT strategy, it's the ingredients that make a great solution. And it's the same way for me except with food. So today, with carefully chosen ingredients, we're going to make two of the best spice mixtures you've ever seen. My homemade rosemary salt, which is going to be on every table in America soon, and homemade curry powder. We all know what curry powder is. It's 10 times better homemade. Well, let's go! Let's start with the rosemary salt. We're going to start by stripping 3 big sprigs of rosemary. Now we'll just pick 2/3 of an ounce of sage. That's about 40-50 leaves. And simple, we don't want the stem, we just pluck that off, save the leaves. Now 3/4 cup of kosher salt is going into a food processor. You can also do this in a blender if you don't have one of these. Straight in, herbs in, 3 cloves of peeled garlic going in. Now let me show you the most intelligent way to zest a lemon. Take the lemon and you just pull down, working your way all the way around. So zest of 1 whole lemon straight in. Now, all we need to do is blend this up for about a minute. And when it's done, make sure you get in there and smell it because you will not believe the aromas that are coming off this. Woo! And when you're done, you have the most beautiful green salty sand. Now, when you're done, you want to store this in an airtight Tupperware container in your fridge. It's going to stay really fresh for 2 weeks. It'll last months, but 2 weeks is the optimal time to use it up. And speaking of storage, so you all store data. My data is food. And when you're running out of space, it's always good to have some backups. All right, let's make some curry powder. Okay, into a cold pan, 2 tablespoons cumin seed, 1 tablespoon mustard seed, 1/2 teaspoon cardamom. Now turn the pan onto low heat. A spice mix like this is certainly going to up your consumption of Indian food. And when these spices begin to toast and the aromas fill the house, you will smell it in any part of the house. You get a beautiful sense of security, of comfort, because you know you're about to eat something delicious. Now after 5 minutes these are done, you want to get them out to cool. Now to this mix we're going to add 1 teaspoon cayenne pepper, 1 teaspoon ground cinnamon, 2 tablespoons ground coriander, and 2 tablespoons ground turmeric, which gives it the curry powder color. The last thing, just a healthy amount of finely ground black pepper. Now we could grind this with a mortar and pestle, but for ease, we're just going to add it to a coffee grinder. And blend. Just about 20 seconds, and we have a beautiful curry powder. Just make sure you wash your coffee grinder very well, or you're going to have a coffee I don't think anybody's tried. Trust me, I've accidentally done it and it's not good. So just to recap, this rosemary salt, steaks, pork, chicken, duck, roasted potatoes, sweet potatoes, oh my god, so many veggies. It's just one of those spice mixes that is incredible on everything. It also makes a great little gift if you want to package them up in jars and give them away around Christmas time. And curry powder, obviously for curries, but for chicken skewers. It's amazing on potatoes, it's amazing on a lot of veggies. We're gonna be using it on our cauliflower steaks we cut in the first video. Just something I always need to have around, and so is that. Hope you're excited for the next videos where we cook a steak with rosemary salt and we cook cauliflower steaks with curry powder. How's that food intelligence meter going? Is it getting up there? I bet it is. Can't wait to see you back here for our main courses. And I'm out!
Thanks, Chef Sunny. We're really spicing things up here today. We heard how essential it is to have the right ingredients to build a winning dish. Just as great ingredients are at the heart of any great meal, you need the best technology to address security requirements in today's connected world. Now, here's James Morrison, HPE's distinguished technologist on cybersecurity, to provide some guidance on the security front.
Hello, and thank you for joining me today. My name is James Morrison, and I'm a distinguished technologist with Hewlett-Packard Enterprise, specializing in cybersecurity. Prior to my time with HPE, I worked for the FBI for 22 years, working cybercrime out of the Houston office. And during that time, I gained a lot of insights into how cybercriminals work and how they gain access to corporate networks. The idea of the future was always about edge-centric, cloud-enabled and data-driven. What's happened through this COVID pandemic is that we've actually seen more data pushed to the edge than we ever thought possible. I'm often quoted as calling this the unplanned IT transformation. And I think we're all going to see a lot of changes between now and the end of this pandemic that are lessons learned throughout. I've often tell companies that keep notes, because what you're learning right now about your network are going to be challenges to your network over time as this data increases. Statistically, it says that by 2025, we will have 175 zettabytes of data moving laterally, 70% of that moving laterally east-west through our networks. That's going to be a challenge to a lot of the architectures that we have, and it's going to be a challenge to that security. Because anytime data flows, security has to be, really built into that flow. Most of the security models we see over, across the industry are more bolted on industry or security solutions and aren't really designed at the core of that system. And that's a place where we think we are different as a company. In addition, when we talk about data flows, we have to start having a better consideration of what models we want to use and what frameworks. HPE has embraced the Zero Trust framework, and I'll show you some ways on how that has been incorporated into our products. One of the big things I've always been very kind of focused on is the idea of a holistic approach to cybersecurity. We know that data is a currency, and it's a currency for companies, both from their customer data as well as some employee data. But we also understand from a cybersecurity standpoint that data is the currency of the bad guy, of the criminal actor. They're looking at your data and trying to figure out how they can prevent you from having access to that data and then force you to pay for it. Just this morning, I was reading an article about a malware group had contacted Zoom and said, we have 2 0 days. Are you willing to pay for it? That's a revenue stream for them, and that's the way they look at it. And so they're looking at your data the exact same way. When you look even at ransomware, the broader idea of ransomware is the loss of function to your company. If I can get between you and the data that's critical to your company, you may be more likely to pay me. In this current COVID pandemic, the FBI reported a couple of weeks ago that there was a 150% increase in ransomware and over a 400% increase in scams and phishing attacks. One term that we use is that a criminal will never leave any crisis unutilized. They know that your people are stretched. They know that your people may be distracted, and with people working increasingly from home, they may be more susceptible to these kind of attacks. So what that means is, from a security standpoint, it means your security model now has to get broader. It has to push further to the edge, and that edge is often networks inside of home networks. So we have to start, how are we going to deploy security? How are we going to make sure that our employees aren't inadvertently causing damage to our network? So the idea of security that we've always embraced is in 3 areas: protecting, detecting, and recovering. Protecting against new vulnerabilities. We see, whether it's a 0 day or even in a change of workflow like we're seeing right now with more remote workforce, that's a new vulnerability. And if your system doesn't have security designed in, or security that looks at the data coming in, it could find itself vulnerable. Detection. How long will it take you to detect either malicious actors or intruders? The average last year was 245 days. And I'm actually predicting, a lot of cybersecurity experts are, in that 4 to 6 months after this time, after this pandemic, a lot of companies are going to find that their networks have been intruded upon and the hackers have gained some persistence. A hacker gets into your network and they have 3 main goals immediately. Number 1 is escalation. If they can escalate their privileges to administrator rights, they feel that they can gain access to any application and then deploy things like RDP, remote desktop protocol, or remote access tools to allow them to gain further access. Number 2, they're looking at moving laterally across your network so that when they deploy whatever their attack is going to be, they can cause the most amount of damage and gain the most of a footprint, or as much of a footprint as possible. And then number 3 is persistence. They want to make sure that they can survive no matter what you do, whether you reboot, Even some cases, if you reload, that's the ultimate persistence. That's why we've seen attacks that have targeted Internet of Things and IoT type devices. And one of the biggest stories about that is a casino that got hit, and they decided not to pay the ransom, but in their reloading of their machines, they kept getting reinfected. And when they started looking at the network traffic, they recognized that the ransomware was actually stored on a thermostat inside one of their fish tanks. The hackers are going to look for every device on your network, and they're going to try to stay there so that they can reinfect you and make you more likely for you to pay them their ransom. The last step is recovery. Sometimes you're gonna fail. I mean, the mantra of the bad guy is I just have to be right once, whereas a defender has to be right 100% of the time. So if I can get one person to click on my phishing or get a home phone or something like that infected, then I can infect your network and force you into a recovery method. The average is 73 days, with 16 of those days being you are down. You are absolutely unavailable for service. That creates a lot of problem. We live in a world where high availability is so much built into our marketplace. And if I come to your website and your website's not available or you're unable to fulfill an order, people will leave your website and they will go someplace else and buy it from another vendor. So that's very important to make sure that we have this high availability. The average cost of a breach comes out to somewhere around $8 million, $20,000 per day, or in a data breach, it's $143 per record lost. So there is a financial loss as well associated with any ransomware or data breach. And let's make sure we understand that a ransomware attack is considered a data breach in most data breach in most state laws. And we've seen a lot of ransomware companies now that not only are they breaching the network or deploying their ransomware, but they're also attempting to breach that network over time. So they're going to come after you and they're going to ask for money for the ransom. They're going to ask for money for the data breach. And even later, they may ask for money to prevent notifying that you have been breached, because they're going to try to cause that reputational loss. It's all about data streams. And that's why cybercrime has risen at an exponential rate over the last years. We have seen almost a $2 trillion cost last year, and it's estimated to be a $6 trillion cost next year. It's not going to go away, and cybercrime law number 1 says that everyone's a target. Please don't ignore cybercrime and don't ignore your cybersecurity defenses. It's crucial that we start making efforts to make this less of a lucrative industry. But the big part of that is that you have to make sure you're investing in the proper areas. 10, 15 years ago, we were deploying a lot of our budgets, as much as 90% of them, towards border firewalls or border routers. And perimeter controls, while they're crucial to security, really don't have a lot of return on investment in the current environment. What we see by this slide is that more user analytics, access and identity governance, machine learning, and intelligence systems actually have a better return on the investment. So it's crucial to make sure that we're putting the limited resources that we have in the proper place. And the enterprise security architecture makes it we have to look at the entire security model. It's not just people, processes, policy, products. It's also physical security. It's compliance and continuity. It's data protection. All of these are part of this security model, and we need to look at everything when we start talking about security. I often tell people that if I can get physical access to your servers, I am king. I can do anything I want to your network once I have physical security, unless there is some sort of security built into that server at its core. So when we look at data center security, the HPE and Intel looked at it from this area. We said we have to be able to protect the data, and data exists in 3 states: at rest, in flight, and in use. And we have to secure the platform. Is the platform trustworthy? Is it resilient to data loss? Do I have visibility and control? And can I do all of those things without compromising performance? Because if a security product compromises performance, most of the time people will request that product be disabled, and therefore it doesn't provide any security at all. So the HPE model is security is only as strong as the layer below it. Most traditional security products look at the apps, the OS, and the VM, but they do very little to protect the hypervisor, the BIOS firmware, or the CPU. So what HPE said is that if we can protect the CPU and actually create a fingerprint of that firmware within all of our hardware products, we can establish a chain of trust up the boot stack. And that's where the Gen 10 Silicon Root of Trust comes from. We built our product so that the hardware is secure. And once we know that the hardware is secure and we know that it is not attackable by the bad guy, we can extend that out to the firmware, out to the operating system and apps, and then with multiple servers deployed across the network, we can actually deploy security all the way to the edge through data centers through the use of products like our ILO amplifier pack and the InfoSight products. In addition, HP owns the Aruba company line, and the Aruba ClearPass is, we feel one of the best zero trust models out there. With ClearPass, you have the ability to get visibility on all products, all hardware being installed on your network, and deny them access until you're able to fingerprint what they're trying to do. A lot of companies have issues with shadow IT, and so having a product like this allows you to see the new products coming online, the new hardware coming online, and develop a profile, and then determine authentication and authorization based upon that profile. And we think that's crucial to security in today's environment. So the ClearPass model also does context-based rules, which if you think about it, this is one of the issues we have right now. You know, my laptop, that laptop I'm working on right now, is the same laptop I work on when I'm sitting in an HPE facility or whether I'm sitting in an airport. So that means the user didn't change and the hardware didn't change, but what changes is my context of where I'm connecting into that network. And that context is crucial to understanding how vulnerable we could be from that computer system. So contextual-based security is also very, very important, and that's something that ClearPass offers. In addition, we know a lot of companies are operating in VM environments, and there have been some attacks over the last years where hackers have been able to scrape data out of contiguous VMs or go into common tool sets and go across those VMs. So we've worked to secure those VMs and harden them against those kind of attacks. And so there is no ability now to scrape between VMs, and that's a crucial security feature. In addition, HPE went out and looked. They felt we've always stated that our servers are the industry standard most secure servers in the world, and that's a very bold statement. But we don't want it to just be a statement that we've made. We want that statement to be something that's authenticated by external parties. So the first thing we did was we talked to the insurance companies and found out that Marsh Insurance was creating a program called Cyber Catalyst. And their belief was that there are some products, hardware and software, that can actually help reduce cyber risk. 150 products were submitted to Marsh in 2019, and of those 150 products, only 17 were designated as having a meaningful impact on cyber risk. And we at HPE were very proud of the fact that we have 2 products, including the only server-based hardware, which is the HPE Silicon Root of Trust, to be recognized by insurance companies as being able to have a meaningful impact on cyber risk, and therefore helping you reduce your cyber insurance policy should you deploy those products in your system. In addition, the Aruba Policy Enforcement Firewall, which is a crucial centerpiece of the Zero Trust model that they deploy, has also been recognized. We think that sets us apart from all of our competitors. With that, I thank you for your time. I hope that if you have questions, you will contact either myself or another HPE employee, and we can answer more of those questions for you. Thank you.
Sometimes, after a long day of setting the IT strategy for your organization, you just want to go home and cook up a good old-fashioned steak. Chef Sunny Harrell from TikTok is here to show you how to make the most succulent steak you've ever tasted.
Welcome back again for our final tutorial, and it's gonna be a good one because we're cooking steak, New York strip to be precise. I'm sure most of us love steaks, but we love them even more now that we can write them off, am I right? If you're a grill guy, I'm about to change your mind forever. I'm gonna show you in this video how to execute a perfect medium rare steak all in one pan. Now, let's go! So your first step with any steak, pull it out of the fridge half an hour prior to cooking. This is called tempering, and it allows the steak to get a better sear and cook evenly. The next step is going to be to dry this steak extremely well. Moisture is the enemy of a good sear. Now, just a tiny bit of Nutri-Oil on both sides and rub that in. Nutri-Oils are just oils that don't have a lot of flavor, like canola or grapeseed or peanut. Now, from up high, rain down some rosemary salt. If you know, you know. And you do know, because I just taught you how to do it. Finely ground black pepper. I like to pat in the seasoning. It really helps it stick. And do both sides. Now, this is New York strip, so we have that fat cap right there. Take that and dip up all the seasoning off your board. Now we're ready to go. Now, the next thing, you gotta use a ripping hot pan. I love all-clad pans, in case anybody is wondering. I think they give the best sear on a lot of foods. So I've had this pan on the highest heat possible for 5 minutes. You need to get heat into the pan first, and then you start cooking. It's the biggest mistake I see people making at home when they cook. And yeah, it's gonna be a little scary, but you'll be all right. My rule is, if you're not afraid of your pan a little bit, it's not hot enough. Okay, so we're gonna start with a tablespoon of peanut oil. Very high smoke point, that's why I'm using it for steak. Just a little over a tablespoon in. Now I'm gonna start just by searing this fat cap. Okay, I've got some good color after about 90 seconds. Bake down. So about 3 minutes, we have the most beautiful sear. Flip, sear for 1 more minute, and then turn the heat all the way down low. 3 cloves smashed garlic, about a tablespoon unsalted butter, 4 or 5 sprigs fresh thyme. Listen to that thyme crackle. Now pan back and bake. Okay, 4 minutes of basting and we rest. So as a general rule for resting steak, you want to rest it for half as long as you cooked it. So this took about 8 minutes, so I'm going to rest it for 4. And if you're cooking like a big roast, like a standing rib roast, you're going to have to rest it a lot longer. Let's see how we did. Always want to cut on a bias against the grain. Beautiful, a little more towards medium, but for a New York strip, that's great. Now we have all those beautiful basting juices left over. A little bit on the top is so yummy. And I always like a tiny bit of olive oil, gives it a nice mouthfeel. I swear to you, you try steak like this once, you'll never want to throw it on the grill again. It's so tasty. Well, I had a wonderful time doing these demos for you. I hope you're all doing well in quarantine, and I cannot wait to work with you again. So until next time, I'm out!
That was a good-looking slab of meat. Thank you, Chef Sonny, for showing us how to cook a great steak. And now I'm going to turn this back over to our host.
Thank you. And thanks to our chef, Sonny Harrell, for joining us for this webisode. We hope you found these recipes for success informative, entertaining, and educational. But your learning opportunity doesn't end here. We're thrilled to offer each of you a free workload assessment to help your company optimize its IT investment and, more importantly, help you define an ongoing strategy based on actionable insight gleaned from your environment. For example, should you move workloads to AWS or demigrate them from AWS? What's the real cost you're incurring due to virtual machine sprawl? How can you maximize your storage investment? And many more questions. At the end of this event, you'll be automatically redirected to a landing page full of additional resources to help you learn more about how TechPower and HPE can help you meet your business and IT challenges and to claim your free cloud assessment. Also, keep an eye on your email in the coming days for additional information we'll be sending your way. Stay safe.